Hi everyone, and I am here to talk about my favorite mystery series. And this was requested recently. I think maybe if you are newer to my channel, you'll hear me in wrap-ups reference different mystery series that I'm working my way through. And I think if you're new to reading mysteries, it can be confusing just to hear the different titles. And so I have this here as a resource now, all of the mystery series that I love. I have 20 series on this list. It is kind of outrageous, but I really do love having a lot of variety to choose from when I'm thinking about what mystery I will read next. I just know that mysteries are the kind of book that can keep me out of a reading slump. Whenever I am unsure of what to read, I love having 20 mystery series to choose from. And it just is such delightful reading. And I already am so excited for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. And I think either before or after this video, you'll see some mystery reading plans I have for the month of August. I'm not sure when this video will be going up, but just I've been enjoying mysteries maybe even more this year than I have in previous other years. So very excited to continue with that. And without further ado, the first series, and one that I is a complete series and I have not gotten around to finishing, is the Flavia de Luce series by Alan Bradley. I think for those who like very clever kind of intellectual writing, such as Dorothy Sayers, this could be a series you would want to try. It is very fun in that it has so many cultural and literary references within it. It's very clever writing. Flavia de Luce, when the series starts out, she is 12 years old and she loves to play with chemistry. And she uses her chemistry skills to help her solve different crimes. She lives in this old mansion, with her two sisters who she doesn't always get along very well with. But I really love the charming feel of this. I love Flavia's personality. She's very unusual, a little bit like Wednesday Addams, and she just makes for a fascinating leading lady of a series. So I definitely would like to continue reading through that series. And then another series that is now completed, and that is the Inspector Wexford series by Ruth Rendell. I will forever be grateful to this series for showing me that there were modern mysteries out there with the in-depth characterization. I'm going to be hard-pressed to ever enjoy a Golden Age mystery as much as I would a more modern mystery, because the way that mystery authors have figured out to marry characterization with an investigative plot has just come so very far. And I had been reading several Poirot books and enjoying those well enough. But when I read Ruth Rendell's Inspector Wexford books with the intense elements of psychology and just delving so deep into human nature and very much a why done it as opposed to a who done it, it just changed everything for me. And I am the mystery reader that I am today because of this series. My grandmother recommended it to me, and I'm very nostalgic about it. It is a police procedural about Inspector Wexford, and he works with a police department and investigates different crimes that happen in the area that he is in. There is usually just some kind of interesting twist that is in these, and they don't have the same kind of charm that a lot of my other favorite mystery series have, but there's something about it that it will just always be my favorite because I am so nostalgic about it. And then the next one is the Inspector Lynley Mysteries by Elizabeth George. These also are so heavy into psychology, and I experience quite a bit of emotional upheaval when I read these. The characters, it's like these are novels that happen to be mysteries. They are such deep character studies. These are definitely on the as far as my threshold goes, they're right on the borderline, but they're so good that I keep reading them. And I really love that in this series, you have Inspector Lynley, who is actually Lord Lynley. He's been raised very privileged, and he is paired up with Barbara Hastings, who is very working class. She has not been given anything on a silver spoon, and they are such a cool pairing to see their two their dynamic together, the way their personalities work together, the ways that they see the world. They just make a fabulous team. So there are new mysteries in this series that continually come out, and I've been reading through this series with Kate from the novel Nomad, and that is a running theme with several of these because Kate loves mysteries as much as I do. And then the Commissario Brunetti series by Donna Leone. This is a series that was recommended to me by my dad, and I'm so glad that I have picked it up. This is one that I definitely have to be more patient while I am reading it. These are very literary, and the pacing of these, I'd say I would be really curious for anyone in the police force who reads these, if they feel the pacing more matches what it is like to investigate a crime, where you have people who are unwilling to give you information, you have, cold cases, and it's very hard to find the solutions to crime sometimes. And these really reflect that struggle. And these are set in Venice, Italy. You're going to want pasta and bread whenever you read these books. And something that is a real highlight of these to me is Brunetti and his wife Paola, his son Raffi, and his daughter Chiara. Any chapters that they are in bring such a warmth and a kind of just fullness to the different books in the series. So unfortunately, sometimes the crimes don't interest me as much as in other mystery series. I'm usually very interested in the crime. But if there's something to do with drug trafficking, that's been a couple of them, smuggling things, it just never is as interesting to me. And I think because it becomes so much about the objects that people are working with as opposed to the people involved in the case who have been affected by it, that something about it is off-putting to me. But I keep coming back to the series because the writing is so pristine. And the next one on the list is the Armand Gamache series by Louise Penny. These are another one similar to Inspector Lynley. The emotional upheaval that I experience as I am reading them is so intense. Inspector Gamache, he is such a good man. And he is someone he has become such a scapegoat in the Sûreté department. They're set in Quebec, and he just takes it like a champ because he knows that with great power comes great responsibility. And what I really, really loved is that there is a really big overarching plot that you start to get a sense of it in maybe book 2 or 3, but it doesn't really climax until book 6. And then more things keep happening after that. And there have been maybe 2 misses in this series for me, but overall, I have really loved it. And one of the touch points that makes it a real winner for me is the village of Three Pines, where you have this regular cast of characters that you know. If I'm going to love a mystery series, there has to be a regular recurring cast of characters, and this definitely has that. And the next one is the Her Royal Spyness series by Rhys Bowen. This is in the very light, frivolous, historical mystery category. There is romance and amateur sleuthing. So many boxes are checked off for me. This is in the kind of Bright Young Things era. And Georgie, who is of title but has no money and is constantly trying to figure out how to balance kind of mingling at events that the queen wants her to mingle at, because the queen is her grandmother, or her great grandmother, and she just has to figure out how to navigate her social calendar. In addition to that, there's a very tantalizing romance with a handsome Irishman named Darcy, and they just make for such a fabulous couple. And these they are full of fun, and I really love this series, and I'm just so grateful to know about it because it is reliably fun. And then the next series is the Hercule Poirot series. So Poirot as a character has been someone that I have had kind of a very up and down relationship with. And it took me a long time, with all of his quirks and his fussiness, to accept him for who he is. But then also, he does have that. But on top of that, he is ever the gentleman. He does not care how anyone treats him. It does not change that he will show everyone the respect that he thinks a gentleman should show everyone. And I really love that about his character. I I've definitely had some misses in this series. The Big Four, that's the first one that comes to mind, The Mystery of the Blue Train. So I've had some low points, but then I keep reading because I have others in the series that I just adore. My most recent one was Sad Cypress. I really love that one. I loved The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I have skipped ahead before and I have read The Halloween Party and I love that one. So there are enough that I have enjoyed that I'm like, okay, when Poirot books are good, they're very, very good. So, golden age of crime, you have all the glitz and the glamour, and I'm excited to keep reading this. I am going to hold off reading the Miss Marple books until I have finished Poirot. It's just this self-inflicted rule that I have given myself. So I will do that. Now, I have not read any of the newer ones written by a different author. I don't really have any interest because I have enough mystery series I'm interested in reading, and Agatha Christie's writing has a reputation for a reason. So I don't think I'll pick up any of the modern ones. The next one, and this is a newer favorite to add to this list, is the Brother Cadfael Mysteries by Ellis Peters. This is about a 12th century monk named Brother Cadfael, who is an herbalist, and he uses his skills with herbs to solve different murders that happen in this little cloistered community that he lives in. I love that it's such a very different time period than the usual mysteries that I read. And on top of that, there is something really pristine about Ellis Peters' writing style. She's continually moving the plot forward, and every conversation matters, and you can look back to try to fit the pieces together. I'm really glad that this series has ended up on this list because about 9 years ago, or no, maybe 7 years ago, it doesn't really matter, I tried the first for me in that series, which was A Corpse Too Many. And I wasn't that impressed by it. And then last year I thought, you know what, why don't I just come back to Brother Cadfael? And so I read A Morbid Taste for Bones, and I thought, oh, I definitely enjoyed that one a lot more. And then recently I read Monk's Hood, and I thought, oh, I really enjoyed that one. So I think maybe she's really hit her writing stride further into the series, and this series is completed. So I'm really excited to continue reading through that one. I just really enjoy historical mysteries. It's a great way to travel to a different time period, but it has some plot to keep things moving forward in the manner that I really like when I read books. And the next series that is a favorite are the Mitford Sisters Mysteries by Jessica Fellowes. She has such a way of making such page turners out of these mysteries. So they involve the iconic Mitford sisters. In the beginning, they're all kind of younger and living at home. And then as they get older, she has different relationship with different sisters within the family. But what is really spectacular about this series is that she links up current events with the Mitford family, with personal drama that's happening with them, and then puts a murder mystery into all of that. And it just makes this wonderful, beautiful concoction. I think there are 4 out in the series currently, and I have read 3, and I have absolutely loved the first 3 that I have read. So I'm very excited, and I hope many, many more come out in this series. And the next series that I want to talk about is the Grantchester Mysteries by James Runcie. These follow Sidney Chambers, who is a vicar in the small, sleepy town of Grantchester. He is kind of an amateur sleuth, but he gets teamed up with Inspector Geordie Keating. And they have this unofficial partnership, and there are always kind of rumblings in the parish about whether Sidney Chambers should be as involved as he is, investigating crimes. So he's always treading this, kind of trying to keep this balance. These are really special and unique. They are not this big overarching plot. They more have overarching themes that are addressed throughout, but then they're made up of 5 or 6 novellas each. And they are so poignant and just reflective on life and so many of the bigger issues. And I just think they ring so true for religious life. James Runcie, the author, his father is the former Archbishop of Canterbury, so he knows church life very well. And it's a really, really special series that has a way of affecting me like no other mystery series. And the next on the list is the Maisie Dobbs series by Jacqueline Winspear. This is a favorite series. Oh my goodness. This really has an ache to it because it starts out right after World War I and does for a while in those interwar years and then carries on into World War II. And that's where I am in the series now. Typically, Jacqueline Winspear is releasing one a year, but just the hell on earth that war can make for people is demonstrated in this series. And this is another one that she splendidly blends, current events of that day and Maisie's personal life, and then puts it all together with a murder mystery involved. I've only had one in this series that I didn't like, and the character of Maisie, some people critique saying that she's too perfect. She doesn't really have many flaws, but I forgive this series that because it is just so good, and another one that you really have yourself kind of reflecting on the bigger issues of life as you read it. The next series is the Lady Darby Mysteries by Annalee Huber. This is a new edition. I'm only 2 into this series, but I have good faith. I will continue to love this series. And Lady Darby is a widow, and her first marriage was a really terrible situation to be in. Her husband was really awful and just kind of a tyrant. And so she has this newfound freedom, but it is also, it starts out 1820s in Scotland. And so as much freedom as a widow in that time can have, these are very much page turners. They almost feel like historical thrillers. So you do have to be, they're right on my threshold. Like I said, the Lynley series, there are some really intense things that happen in them. So you do have to be ready and be prepared. But I just picked up the 3rd one from the library, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series. And I think there are about 12 out in the series so far. Next is the Agatha Raisin series by MC Beaton. So I do have mixed feelings now putting this on the list because later on into the series, I think I've read 22. And at some point, a ghostwriter picked up because MC Beaton had gotten very old. She has since passed away, and the series is carrying on. So the ghostwriter is still writing under her name. And I think you can just tell when she has stopped writing. The last several Agatha Raisin books I've been pretty disappointed in. It just feels different. MC Beaton's writing is so clever. And even just little references, like Agatha Raisin has 2 cats that are Boswell and Hodge, which is a reference to Samuel Johnson. And it just feels different. So the original ones written by MC Beaton, I really highly endorse. I'm going to give one more of the new ones a try, and then I think I will move on to MC Beaton's Hamish Macbeth series because I've heard so many good things about that series. And I might just start rereading Agatha Raisin if I feel like it because honestly, they are so fun. It's set in a really little town in the Cotswolds. Agatha has retired early. She was tired of corporate life. She is just a really sardonic personality. Read the first one. If she ruins the book for you, you should stop the series now because her personality does not change. And there's something about them that just, they're very, very satisfying. So I'm still happy, to include this series on the list though, because there were 20 that I really enjoyed. So yes, I will let you know though how I feel when I try the next one in it. And the next one on the list is Lady Emily. This is a series by Tasha Alexander. It is a historical mystery series set in the Victorian era. And this is another one with a widow as the investigator. And it has some very sultry romance in it. It is it's not really open door romance, but it's more than closed door. And this is just fabulous because in pretty much each book, they travel to a different country. So I have read 4. And I'm definitely interested in continuing on. I really like the romance in it. And I love, like I said, that they travel to a different country in each one. Emily is a fascinating character, and it's a series that I'm looking forward to reading more from it. And the next series is the Beatrix Potter Mysteries by Susan Wittig Albert. This is such a wonderful series for so many reasons. One, because Beatrix Potter is the main character. She is the sleuth. The series kicks off when she buys Hilltop Farm in the Lake District. And on top of that, the animals that live in this community are characters, and they speak. They do not speak to the humans, but they speak with one another. And so there is always a human mystery and an animal mystery, and they are separate. And she pulls it off really well. Keep an open mind about it if you're put off by the fact that they're speaking animals. She pulls it off incredibly well. And I like that there are always two separate stories. These are very placid, and I really like that about them. It just feels like English cottage life with a hint of mystery. So they're very slice of life, calm kind of mysteries, and I really love how reliable they are that way. Sadly, there are only 7, and I have already read 3 of them. But Susan Wittig Albert has 2 other series out there, so I'm confident that I could find more by her to enjoy after I do finish up the Beatrix Potter mysteries. And then Amory Ames by Ashley Weaver. This is very much a like schmoozing and mingling kind of series where it's the rich and famous in the interwar years at house parties, and Amory is accompanied by her husband Milo. They do have some issues in their marriage, and part of it can be a bit repetitive. But the crimes are always so interesting that I keep reading this series, although I am a little bit behind. But she does have a new series that is coming out now starring Electra McDonnell. And I read the first one in the series and I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to continuing through that series as well. And then the next one is the Adam Dalgliesh series by P.D. James. And this is very much a bread and butter detective fiction series. Adam Dalgliesh is a police detective who is also an amateur poet. And these have very just well-crafted crimes that happen in them. And something about them, there's just such a special quality. I still think Unnatural Causes or Death and Holy Orders is my favorite. These very much also go into the psychology of the characters, and they're just wonderful. And then the Matthew Shardlake series by C.J. Sansom. This is about a monk turned lawyer, or lawyer turned monk. I always forget the order. And it is set in the Tudor era, and what a fascinating time to set a mystery. And these are historical thrillers. That's the category that I would put them in, and such page turners. I've only read the first 2, but I loved them so much. And I just saw that I think it's the 7th or the 8th, and a new one has just come out or is about to come out. So I want to keep reading in that series, and I'm very excited to continue with that series. I'm just finding these older historical mysteries, or historical mysteries with an older setting, I'm very drawn to. So there's several new series I found out about too that I want to try at some point in this year. Maybe Cloak and Dagger Christmas would be a fun time for that. I will keep you updated on that. And then the Amelia Peabody series by Elizabeth Peters. This is an especially fun series with our intrepid Amelia Peabody as the leader. And she is married to Emerson. They are Egyptologists and archaeologists, and they go on all these adventures. And I love this series. It's just full of fun. The crimes can start to blend together. So I have had a couple years that I've been on a break from it, and I would like to pick back up with it because it is just a really wonderful, high quality series, and I would love to return to it. And then I have one that's it's not technically a mystery series, but I want to include it, and that is Josephine Tey's books. So Josephine Tey is my favorite Golden Age writer. I just prefer her over Dorothy Sayers, over Agatha Christie. I really, really love her writing. And I have enjoyed The Daughter of Time, which is her, it is part of her Alan Grant mystery series. But to me, the other ones that I've read, The Man in the Queue in that series, and that one was fine, but it didn't hold a candle to Daughter of Time. What I have really, really loved also are her standalones. So Brat Farrar, Miss Pym Disposes, and then The Franchise Affair are just so memorable and just knock your socks off. Amazing. And I just think she gets so much less press than other Golden Age authors. And I really, really highly recommend you pick up her books. So I would like to read more of the Alan Grant mysteries and just read her entire catalog because those books have been so amazing. In particular, Miss Pym Disposes is the one that has kind of haunted me the most. And it's one of these books that is agonizingly slow. It is unrelenting in how slow it is. But then at the end, it just hits you. And like I said, it has just haunted me and I have not forgotten it. So those are my favorite mystery series. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about them and maybe would find a few that you would be interested in checking out. And I will be back with another video soon. Thank you as always for watching, and I look forward to chatting in the comments with you.